Hi everyone! I've been going through the principles of miracles, which are found in A Course in Miracles at the beginning of chapter 1. Last video I left off on principle number 13, so we're going to pick up on principle number 14. Today we're going to cover 14 and 15, but I also want to skip back to the introduction real quick because I didn't go over that, and I just want to explain that real quick. So let's start with 14 first. So, Principle of Miracles, number 14, says, miracles bear witness to truth. They are convincing because they arise from conviction. Without conviction, they deteriorate into magic, which is mindless and therefore destructive, or rather, the uncreative use of mind. Okay, so let's break that down. Miracles bear witness to truth. What does that mean? That means miracles are truth. Truth are miracles. They are one and the same. And what is a miracle? A miracle is simply taking a moment to remember what the truth really is, which is that this is all an illusion. Okay, science has already proven this. As I've said in many other videos, look at an atom, it's mostly entirely empty space. The only thing that's there is protons, neutrons, and electrons, and they're just energy. So there's nothing here except energy and empty space. It's an illusion. We also have quantum physics. Take a look at the double slit experiment. We already know scientifically we live in an illusory world. It is an illusion. So miracles are when we take a moment to remember that it's an illusion and to remember the part that's the truth, which is the love. Love is the only thing that's real. And we are all made of love, pure spirit, pure source creation, God. It's all the same. That's where we come from. That's who we truly are. That is what we truly are. And that is what a miracle is when we take a moment to remember that, to remember who and what we really are and who and what everything out in the world really is, because we are all one. There's only one of us, and we are all love, and nothing else exists, and we are all innocent. That is the miracle. That is the truth. So the miracle is when it says miracles bear witness to truth. So that is the miracle, when we bear witness to truth. They are convincing because they arise from conviction. Okay? So when we have conviction in seeing the truth, when we have conviction in remembering the truth, when we take the time, every time we want to remind ourselves, it could be once a day, it could be, 10,000 times a day. It's up to you. But whenever you want to have the conviction to remember the truth, you're there. You just did it. That's the miracle. So they are convincing because they arise from conviction. Without conviction, they deteriorate, it's hard for me to get out, into magic, which is mindless and therefore destructive, or rather the uncreative use of the mind. Okay, what is the uncreative use of the mind? The uncreative use of the mind is believing in the illusion, believing that we are separate, and believing that our power is outside of us. When we give our power away, that's magic, right? Something out there is going to magically cure me. Something out there is going to be the magic, fix for my problems. That's magic. So the truth is when we know that the power is within us. So that's why it says, without conviction, they deteriorate into magic. So if we don't know the truth, now we're relying on magic. We're relying on an illusion, something that's not real, where we've given our power away. That's magic, and that is an uncreative use of the mind. The mind is meant to be creative, like the creator, right? God. So when we are creating, we are remembering truth. We are remembering our God self. We are remembering our creator self, because we are the creators of our world. We are the ones who determine where the energy goes, how it's formed. What are we going to do with this energy that appears to exist here within our illusion? We are the shapers of it, but we don't know. We forgot. We were taught something else. We were taught to give our power away. We were taught to believe in magic. We were taught to believe in authority figures. We were taught to give our power away. So that is the miracle, is when we remember our power, we remember the truth of who we are, we remember that we are God source creation. And that's it. We are nothing else but that. And that is everything. And it's everything, and it's everything we've ever desired, and it's the place we've always desired to go home to, that calling that we all feel inside of us, to go home, to be loved, to be in that place where it's safe. We remember it, we have a memory of it, and we keep longing to go back there. So that's what the Course is here for. It's to help us remember the truth so that we can go home. And it's a place that we go in our mind. It's a place to remember, which the next principle, number 15, we'll get to. But before I do that, I want to go back to the introduction. I really should have covered the introduction before I started the principles of miracles, but whatever. We all make mistakes. It's all good. We go with the flow. So the introduction, just before these miracles are listed, says, "This is a course in miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God." Beautiful. That's the introduction. All right, so let's break that down. What does this mean? This is a course in miracles. All right, well, we've already kind of covered that as we've been going through the principles. We know what a miracle is now. We know that a miracle means that you are aware of the truth. You are aware of who and what you really are, which is love, which is God's source creation. Okay? That's the miracle. It says it is a required course, which I always laugh whenever I read that, because, not everyone is going to do this course, this book. Not everyone's going to do this, and certainly not in this particular lifetime. But the reason it's funny to me is because the principles of what's being taught in this course is required. Every single being that appears to live in this illusion will eventually wake up and realize that this is just a dream, and will remember who and what they really are, and then suddenly they'll just be home with God in what we call heaven. These are just words that we made up in our earthly, dream school that we made up. These are just words that we use. But it's a state of mind. It's a state of being. It's not a place. It's not a physical place. It's a state of mind and a state of being. And we are all eventually going to remember who we really are. That's why this is a required course. Not meaning that this book is necessary for every single person to read. No. It's just that the principles in the book, the things that are being taught, are things that everyone who appears to be within the dream will eventually learn. Because remember, there's only one of us. All minds are connected, and there's only one mind that we share. And that one mind will remember. That's why this is a required course. So we appear to be divided into all these fractal beings here within this dream world that we call Earth. But we are not really those fractal beings. So as those fractal beings that appear to be here start to wake up one by one by one by one by one, it's unconscious that we're all connected. So it starts to unconsciously wake up other people, even if they don't realize it in their conscious mind. The 100th monkey effect. It's like that, okay? So all of our minds are joined, and that's why this is a required course, because we're all going to understand the truth of who and what we really are eventually. So next it says, only the time you take it is voluntary. meaning you are going to learn these at some point, whether it's this time or 1,000 lifetimes from now. You are going to learn these things. You're going to wake up and remember who and what you really are, and no longer believe in the dream. But it's up to you how long you want to take to do that. For me, I would like to do that in this lifetime, but a big part of learning this course and how to best experience God's love requires surrender and requires releasing control, because control is of the ego. The ego is the false self that believes that it's separate from God, that it has its own separate body and its own separate mind, and basically lives in misery because it misses its home, right? Each of our beings miss our home. We miss God's source creation, whatever you want to call it. We miss that place where we remember that unconditional love of where we belong. So everyone is going to experience this awakening eventually, but it's up to you. How many lifetimes do you want to take to learn it? That's why it says only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. Okay, that little tiny sentence right there has a lot in it, because it's basically also explaining about, time and what kind of free will and control we have here within this dream world. All right, we do have some control. Okay, I don't really like that word, but we do have some free will. Okay, but the curriculum is already set. We've already decided before we incarnated into this body coming here what our life lessons are going to be. Our soul, the part of us that still thinks without a body and just energetic form without a body, this soul that thinks it's separate from the whole, right? Because a soul would be a separate identity, makes contracts with other souls to come here and interact. You play this role, I'll play that role, we'll do this to each other, and we'll learn things. We make agreements to come and do that. So in that sense, we do not have free will, because our soul has already set it up to begin with, what our, the play, the movie is going to be once we get here to planet Earth within the particular body that we're now incarnated in. So that part, we do not have free will, okay? That's kind of set up within the system. Our soul chose it before we came here. Once we get here, and we're in a body and we're on Earth, and things appear to be coming to us or coming at us that are separate. The world appears to be done not by us but to us. We think that things are coming after us and that we need to defend ourselves and protect ourselves, and some things are safe and some things aren't. And so as we're going through that sort of virtual reality game, we have free will in how we react to those characters and those situations and those scenarios. That's where the free will lies. The free will lies with what are you going to believe with this thing that you now see in front of you, this scenario, this person, this, whatever the situation is. How are you going to react? How are you going to see it in your mind? Are you going to see it with ego, or are you going to see it with spirit? The Course refers to it as Holy Spirit. I said before, it uses a lot of Christian terminology. It's simply in an attempt to correct some of what Jesus felt has been distorted. His message, he feels, has been distorted by certain religions and things like that. So Jesus wants to really get his message across in this course, which is about peace and love and forgiveness. So we have free will. We can choose to see a situation with God. You can say with Jesus, with whatever makes you comfortable, but basically through the eyes of love. That's the free will part. So it's not free will always what comes at us, what the scenarios seem to be, what lessons we have to learn. Those things were set up ahead of time. And our higher self, is still connected with God's source creation, and our higher self is guiding us through this curriculum that we have of all these lifetimes to remember who we really are. There's a whole plan, that's in place from start to finish, because when we had the tiny mad idea, when we were one with God and we had the tiny mad idea of, what would it be like to be separate from God? And then instantaneously we had the Big Bang and all this form seemed to be created. It was also undone in that very same moment. In that very same moment, we remembered, we went, oops, that was a silly mistake. We remembered who we really are, and we went right back to our original home. It all happened like that. And what we are experiencing now is that little tiny moment stretched out linearly. We're just experiencing it in a linear fashion, but time doesn't even exist, and time within our realm of thinking it exists, it isn't even linear, right? Everything is in a sphere. Everything is a whole. So we, in our mind, in our ego mind, have stretched it out linearly, and that's why there seems to be time and past, present, and future, okay? We did that with our egos. We miscreated. So we can choose with our free will how to react to the curriculum that is already established for each of us. That's where the free will comes into play. What am I going to choose to see here? It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. Okay? So we all have our own curriculum. We all have our lessons that we came here to learn. We all set them up before we came here. And it's up to us. What lessons are we going to learn? Are we going to take advantage of that opportunity of all these lessons that we've set up for ourselves? Sometimes people don't. And, sometimes they'll learn some lessons, but not others. This is why things get pushed off from lifetime to lifetime and things are repeated over and over again. We also tend to choose to incarnate with the same soul groups over and over again. So we have certain ancestral family sort of energies and DNA and things like that come through our ancestral lines. Again, this is all illusion. It's all something the ego set up for us. But learning about the illusion and understanding it can help you navigate through it. At least that's my take on it. The trick is to not get lost in it. The trick is to not believe it's real, but to just understand it so you can navigate it. So it's up to us what we want to do with this time that we created here in this dream world. What do we want to do here with this time and these lessons we have? The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. Okay. So love, which is the only thing that actually really exists, can't actually be taught because it's an experience and it's all there really is. So it's not something that can be directly taught, is what the Course is saying. However, it does aim, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So that's what's really going on here, is that at the core, at the base of who we are, is love. And then we, our ego, put all these obstacles on top of it to block that love, to block our knowledge of it, to block our experience of it, to block it as best as we could. That's what our egos did. So this Course's aim is to remove those blocks. And once those blocks are removed, ta-da! The love was there all along. It's just right there waiting underneath to be seen and felt and experienced. And it says it's your natural inheritance because it's who we naturally are. We are naturally love, God, source, creation. It's who we are. The opposite of love is fear. But what is all encompassing can have no opposite. Okay, so the opposite of love is fear. As we know, love is the only thing that's real. It's the only thing that exists. The opposite of it is fear. But what is all encompassing can have no opposite. Love is all encompassing. So what it's telling us is that fear doesn't exist. It's an illusion. There is no opposite to love. And what the real truth is of who and what we really are, it's not duality. Duality is the ego's creation. That's why in the ego's world, fear exists, that there's an opposite to love. But in heaven or God source creation or the truth of source energy of what we really are, is only love. It is all encompassing and it has no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So that's just a beautiful way of saying the same thing I just said, which is only love exists and nothing else exists. Fear is not real. Okay, that's the introduction. And then I want to go back to the principles, and we're going to look at number 15, and then I'll end this video. 15 says, each day should be devoted to miracles. The purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively. It is thus a teaching device and a means to an end. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. All right, so in my last video, I addressed time a little bit. I talked about timelines and things like that, and how this course is designed to collapse time. Why? Because in the dream, when we come here in this dream of form, we have these lessons. If we learn the lessons that we've set up for ourselves, and each one of those lessons gets us closer and closer to the truth of God. Each one of those lessons helps us remove those blocks to God's love. So as we learn those lessons, we collapse timelines that would require us to keep learning that lesson because we've learned it. So timelines literally collapse. That is how miracles collapse time. As we learn the lessons, we're ready to move on. We're ready to move on to the next level, to start removing more blocks to love. So we don't need to keep learning that same lesson again and again. So any timelines that existed to set you up to keep learning that lesson have now collapsed. You don't need them anymore. It's all about growing and learning. Time is an illusion. It's something we set up for ourselves. It's a teaching tool. So it says each day should be devoted to miracles, meaning that every day our goal is to remember the truth. Every time we don't feel peaceful, that's an indicator to us that we're off track and we forgot the truth, and we are giving our mind over to the ego, that we are allowing the ego to have control over our thoughts. So that's why each day should be devoted to miracles, so we can be in a peaceful place, so that we can see with the correct teacher, which is spirit. The purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively. Oh, Jesus cracks me up sometimes. Okay, so what he means is, don't waste time, dumbass. That's basically what he's saying. Time is used for you to learn these lessons. And if you don't learn the lessons, you're not using time constructively, because you have to keep setting up new lessons for you to try to learn that one lesson over and over again, which takes more time. So that's what that means. Use your time constructively by learning your lessons as efficiently as possible, by focusing on miracles. It is thus a teaching device and a means to an end. Time. It's a teaching device and a means to an end. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. Okay, so like I said, timelines will collapse. When a lesson is no longer useful in facilitating learning because you already learned the lesson, that timeline will collapse. It will literally just collapse time. That one's no longer needed, and you're ready to go to a higher frequency and learn higher level lessons because you already learned that one. So that's how you collapse time. I hear a train coming. Hold on. All right. I know I'm in a really weird setup today too. I'm like squeezed behind the back house. I was just trying to find a quiet little spot to make this video. So that's what it's for. Time will cease when it's no longer useful in facilitating learning. So that's why timelines collapse as we learn. That is how we have power within this dream world. Okay, we don't have power over the curriculum that's set up. I hesitate to say we don't have the power to snap our fingers and make the ego go away. I mean, technically we can. Technically we do have the power to do that, but that's really hard and most of us don't do that. So we need to be gentle with ourselves as we slowly learn these lessons and slowly remove these obstacles that block God's love, that block the truth. And God's love isn't just this, energetic figure out there that's shining love and light down on you. No, we are all God. Everything around us is God, including, these glasses and this chair and book and whatever, all of it. Okay, it's not just what we were taught was living versus non-living. I'm a teacher. I taught first grade for many years, and it's not true what I was teaching my students. I mean, it's true within our dream world that we've decided that, these glasses are not living and this tree is, but it's not true. Everything is living because everything is made of atoms, and atoms are life force energy. So everything is alive, everything is connected, everything is coming from that one God source creation that we are all part of, that we are all one. And when we remember that we are one, and that oneness of who we are is also one with God, and that we are love, and that is our true experience, that is what we are meant to experience and be. I don't know how else to say it. It's a beingness, to be love. That is what we are meant to be. And we will continue when we have conviction, as it said in the principle that we read, when we have conviction, we will continue to remove those blocks, have that experience of love, and then it's like a quickening. Then you just keep wanting more and more of that, and you just keep attracting more and more of that to you. So that is your free will. The curriculum is not your free will, okay? You've got your lessons, you've got your people, you have your soul groups, you have everything set up for your lessons. That part's not your free will, but what you do with it is your free will. Which teacher you choose to look at it with, how you choose to look at it, and what you choose to focus on. So what I'm encouraging all of you to focus on is love. Not the world's definition of love, unconditional love. The love that knows that we are all one, we are all God's source creation, and we are all innocent.